We are continuing our series where we count down Georgia's top returning Bulldogs based off of PFF grades from the 2021 season. That's Brent Rollins. I'm Dayne Young. We co-author Film Don't Lie over at UGAsports.com, part of the Rivals affiliate. So make sure you check out what we're doing over there. And on our YouTube page, go subscribe and check out all the content that we have, from recruiting to film analysis, like the stuff that we do, baseball, basketball. It's all there. And we're about to really be turning the page into the 2022 football season, which is approaching rapidly. And that's why we're getting you set by going through this list. And when you think of the most iconic Georgia football plays ever, you think down to the cocktail party that helped Georgia beat Florida and go on to win the national championship in '80. That same year, you think about Herschel Walker running over Bill Bates. Then you start thinking about Michael Johnson and plenty of others. No Sean Marino hurtling through the air.
Pollock's interception.
You had to give Pollock the shout out, but it's so deserved because I still don't know how that happened. And he probably, if he didn't keep that football, he should have. It should be on display somewhere very special. The play that we're talking about, really the player that we're talking about, he goes up right in this list, and that is none other than Kelee Ringo, coming in at number 17 on our list of top returning Georgia Bulldogs. I think a lot of people, Brent, are going to say, well, isn't that low for Ringo? Because he sounds like, at least from projections, probably a first-round pick.
100%. And it's one where, and we're going to show some clips where this is where your grade impacts you versus what actually happened on the play. The result, like he got beat sort of in a lot of instances where the result of the play or the quarterback play or the throw or the catch, anything like that, didn't necessarily translate into positive for the other team. But like you mentioned, potential top 10 pick, like from a talent, size, speed, there's no equal. Like him and Eli Ricks, was LSU, now at Alabama, and I think they were back-to-back in terms of the recruiting rankings that year in the top 10 in Rivals. Like he's as legit as they come from a size, speed projection. And that talent was on display this past year. I think he only allowed right around 40% completion percentage into his coverage, but there was also some reasons that you didn't see the grade as high. And I think, and by the way, he played, I think, almost 800 snaps after playing 0 the previous season. Didn't get to see him. And now you get to see him. He's out there game 1 against Clemson, getting a couple penalties and just progressed as the year went on. And he is now, the returning sort of true lockdown guy. Now the question is, all right, who plays opposite of him on Georgia's defense in this fall?
Class of 2020 for Kelee Ringo. Scottsdale, Arizona is where he finished up playing high school, really from all over the West Coast. Lived in a couple of different spots out there. Really interesting thing to me, looking back on the recruitment, is look down here where it says he was recruited by Charleston Warren and Dan Lanning, neither of which is on the team anymore. So been a lot of turnover on who directly coaches him. However, who really cares about the defensive backs at Georgia? None other than Kirby Smart. So I think he's okay.
Yes.
A 5-star. It was a no doubt with, like you said, the size and the speed is what you really struggle to find at corner. 6'3", 195 is what he was listed at when he was coming out of high school. When you look at the official, and again, this is always, I want to put quotation marks around official because it's not always accurate. 6'2", 205 is what Georgia has him listed at. But all I'm saying is, like, if he's in that 205, 210, even up to like 212 range, as fast as he is, that makes him one of the best athletes in the world.
Yes, and you think about what Trayvon and Jordan Davis did at the Combine this past season. I think, if he goes and runs 4.31, 4.33, something like that in the 4.3s at 205, 210 pounds, he's going to have that meteoric rise up draft boards. But he's legit as they come as a lockdown corner, and I expect him to, from a grading perspective and a PFF grading perspective, to just elevate. I think he's going to do nothing but elevate and be outstanding this season.
Another reason that I think he is one of the most important players on the team is because of his mother, and not only her story and what she's overcome with some medical issues and beating cancer, I believe. And but I've been told that she is one of the biggest cheerleaders on the team. She does a lot for a lot of people around Georgia. She just came in and kind of took over the mother of the team kind of role. And so that always does make a difference on winning teams. And
Leaders.
so shout out to Kelee Ringo's mom. Let's check out footage of her son that we have compiled here. And yes, we will get to the play. Everyone knows that's coming in here, but a lot of other things to discuss. First, let's start here. And you see Ringo at the top of your screen.
Yeah, and this is early in the season. And when you think about him early in the season, like the first couple of games, he didn't actually allow a catch the first, I think, 4 games of the season. Clemson, UAB, South Carolina, Vandy, didn't allow a single catch. But it wasn't necessarily because of what he was doing. He had the 2 penalties against Clemson, and then here just gets toasted by Josh Fan, and the ball was nowhere near in any way.
Josh Fan toasted a lot of Georgia secondary that day. He was fantastic.
Yes, he was. He was one of the better players on the field that day. But here he gets, his feet get a little still, and I think just if you look at him early in the season versus later in the later in the season, completely different player. And I guess this is something that I will always say and have always said. Supreme athletes and athletes in general, just really good athletes, get better. The more reps they get, they just get better. And when you talk about the supremest of supreme athletes that he is, he just got better and better as the season went along. The physical traits are always going to be there, but the ability to play in coverage, he got burnt, some early in the season and some later. And we're going to see, I think my favorite play of the season, he actually got burnt, but it was one where early on, not so much, but just consistently being there. I think he was one of the top in terms of snaps played. I think second or third, maybe in terms of the entire defense, in terms of with snaps played this past season.
Ain't gonna lie. And looking at that, and this happens a ton, right? When coaches or even scouts are looking at a player and they see someone else in the field and they're like, me seeing Van there, not losing ground to Lewis Seen and Kelee Ringo when running down the field, I'm like, okay, that's he'll be playing in the pros. Like, he'll be really good at it.
Yes. This is one, though, like you think about teaching tape and how to play, cover 3 in zone coverage. I think it was 3. They may have I think they rotated the safeties on this one. But let's see. There we go. 1 down. There we go. All right. Yes. So you don't see it on this angle, but he opens his hips, runs well right there, turns on
like see it as he blurs here.
Yes. True sort of great running form to go, and then goes and gets the football. And it was one of 2 interceptions that he had on the season. The other one's kind of important.
And seeing he does such a good job of using he's pretty broad-shouldered for, like I said, he's a pretty big guy at corner, and especially to have his speed. He does a good job of blocking out, I would say, and really owning the space in a way that's not going to draw a penalty or anything.
He's almost somewhat misplayed this ball, but you could see him. And what was great, and this is where I started seeing this more and more as Georgia's season, especially early in the season, with the youth they had, a lot of different guys within the secondary. Kendrick coming over, brand new to the system. Ringo first time playing. Breeny that had never really played a lot, playing at the Star, and Chris Smith playing, who hadn't played a ton. They played more and more zone coverage than they ever had. And I think it really, truly unlocked their defense, and wrote about it early. But what you also saw was corners and defensive backs in general making more plays on the football because of the increased zone coverage. But this is one, when we look in the red zone against Auburn, he's just physical. Like 200 pounds, 200 plus pounds. That's obviously that fast and that athletic. It's just, this is a losing battle to me for an offense to try to go, play jump ball or play fade routes with him.
Here it is, trying to throw to a spot, and again, kind of blocks out there and does a good job. I'm going to go back to the snap here and just kind of point out, we're talking for Ringo a difference of 6 yards, 5.5 yards here of where he is, and then this is going to be taking place right here. Now, you always hear about like corners, what they can do when there's a lot of space, but when it's a confined space, how do you kind of own that? And I thought he did a really good job on this play.
Yep, and this is one where I think Auburn they went at him a lot against Auburn, but had a really good game against Auburn.
He did, and that can be a tough place to play in sometimes. Georgia's done pretty well there.
Now, this might be both the worst play he made all year and the best play, independent of the interception. The interception, hey, go jump and go be an athlete. But this, when you check and see what's inside the ticker, this is something. This is my favorite play of the season from him.
Well, I want to point out before this goes, watch Ringo and how much happens pre-snap here, because he's really communicating a lot, and it happens to be Channing Tindall that he's communicating to, which we saw also in the national championship a couple of times where Tindall got communicated to and not so.
There's a little bit of miscommunication.
Yeah, so we'll put it that way. So I wonder if some of that contributes to what happens here. Body language kind of shows some frustration. And he tells Tindall, come back in.
Well, he's playing, and he played it very, I didn't understand the leverage that he had this play with from a coverage. Like if you looked at the all 22 view of it that they had on the broadcast, and he jumps the route thinking, oh, I'm going to make a play, and not realizing, one, that Bryce Young is insanely accurate. And then jumping the route, and then, that oh crap moment, like, and just turns on the Jets and says, you're not scoring, almost punches the ball out. That, to me, that screams just that you got it here. That the competitive drive and all that, there's no give up. There's anything, the ancillary traits. I love that play. Absolutely love that play. And it was, and I think they held him to a field goal. By the way, held him to a field goal.
Same with Christopher Smith here.
Yep.
Because I think he probably catches him about the 3-yard line if it's Smith that has to get him. Which is also pretty crazy, because I don't think of him as like a speed demon, but man, he's really fast too.
Yeah, and obviously it's the tight end. It's not like Jameson Williams that they're trying to catch, that kind of thing. But still, yet it's when you look at the totality of his season, the talent, the skill, the combination of physical play, he's one of the best returning corners in college football, bar none. Now, look, he's 17th on our list because of how the grades and how we grade and the execution part of it. And by the way, he played almost 800 snaps, so there's a lot more likelihood of having those negatively graded plays. And this one, I'm just going to sit back and shut up and let people enjoy it, right?
Yeah, he just so happened to seal a national championship win for the Georgia Bulldogs, a play that has been turned into paintings, has been turned into phone screen backgrounds, probably turned into a tattoo somewhere on someone's body. I'm not going to hate on any of it. I'm not going to judge any of it. People can do what they want. What I'll tell you is that he had this play, and of course he does it well. And, even
eyes in the right place, by the way.
Eyes in the right place. He says, I'm going to do what football players do and go try to maximize this. There's still a lot of untapped potential from Kelee Ringo as a whole when you watch his tape. And he can become the most dominant defensive player in the country if he has that kind of potential. He's not there yet.
I think he can have a Stingley as a freshman-esque year this year. I 100% think that is possible, where he's in the 90s from a PFF grading perspective. And now it might be something where he was targeted 59 times this past season. That number might be a lot lower, because he might get completely avoided given the inexperience opposite him. But it's amazing watching him run, by the way. He also has a very Randy Moss-esque, doesn't look like he's actually moving that fast, but he's really moving fast strides. But the sky's the limit for him. And this, like you said in previous ones that we did, this is a 7-month job interview. And I expect him to pass it with flying colors this season for Georgia.
You notice you don't see like a ton of run help coverage in what we did. Not going to happen a whole lot with him, though he's a good tackler, as the number shows. Like, that's there. And so he can help with that if someone gets loose. But I definitely think going into this season, especially 2022, that Kelee Ringo is trying to create Ringo Island. And that allows so many more people to go impact what's going on in the box. You may see him on a corner blitz on occasion, but I kind of doubt it. Like, it would have to be like one of what was the Tennessee play a few years ago with Brian Mallett?
With Stokes.
Yeah. I mean, if Stokes can go rush a passer, then Ringo can too. But you didn't see Stokes do it a lot.
And the other thing that's going to be interesting that Georgia did a little more last year maybe than they've done in previous years is typically it was, hey, if you're the right corner, you're the right corner all the time for the most part. His was about 2/3, 1/3, both right and left corner. They kind of switched that up a little bit more. And it will be interesting to see how they deploy him this year. And if it's a situation like when you're playing Tennessee and Cedric Tillman's on the other side, like, do you just legit say, hey, you're going with him wherever he goes kind of thing? I don't think so. That's not necessarily how Kirby Smart plays defense, but the possibility is with him versus given the inexperience on the other side that, hey, go take away the best guy and we can go play with everybody else as it is.
And I do think that it probably helps that when you look at the returning receivers in the SEC, I'm not saying that there aren't really good ones, but if you look around, especially who's on Georgia's schedule, you don't see a lot of receivers that you think are future first-round picks immediately.
Outside the one I just mentioned, yeah, that list is not long.
If they were playing LSU, I think differently because I think Keyshawn Butte is pretty special, and that'd be just a glorious matchup to watch. But I don't foresee Georgia playing LSU in Atlanta, but who knows? We'll see. A lot of things to see later on in this list as well. Kelee Ringo comes in at number 17 on our top returning Bulldogs according to PFF grades. For Brent Rollins, I'm Dayne Young. We will see you next time for number 16. Go check us out over at ugasports.com. Thank you for watching this, and make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Again, we'll continue this throughout the summer, 16 and beyond until we get to the top 5, and then we'll go to a little bit more in depth. Brock Bowers is in there somewhere in the top 5. There you go. Gave it away. Oh, that was an easy spoiler, right? I think everyone knew that. We're wrapping up this episode. We'll see you next time for number